Hello there YouTube, welcome to my third mental health video. Today I want to talk about the subject of childhood trauma. Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event. In my life I've seen various forms of childhood trauma manifest on other people. Within my experience as a master's level student working in a mental health field, I've also have had the honor of seeing and helping others process their childhood trauma. And my takeaway from all this has been that there is various forms of trauma that could happen to one in their childhood. So many, an innumerable amount of events. And there's also an innumerable amount of responses that happen to those events. So to one person, an event may be incredibly traumatic, but to another person, the same event may not be as traumatic to them. So with that being said, I would like to dissect this subject of childhood trauma and further process this subject. So when I was 14 years old, and I understand 14, technically not a child, but from my point of view, a 14-year-old is still a child. So when I was 14, I experienced my mother develop schizophrenia. So at first she was, growing up, she was a normal mother. She had a normal mental health, I guess. But at age 14, when she was in her mid-40s, she developed schizophrenia. And this manifested through delusions of her thinking that she was going to die, delusions of her thinking that there was some weird witch sorcery happening. And I'm doing a very bad job of describing this, but I'll make another video going more in depth. Essentially, she became very paranoid. Her emotional responses to the world became very blunted. She was very much not like herself. She cocooned herself in a corner of the house because all the other areas of the house would give her kind of a negative energy. She was very unkept. It was just a complete change in her personality, and she was no longer the mother that I had grown up with. So as a 14-year-old, I witnessed this, and it was very much like my mother died, because psychologically she was just turned over. She was no longer the person she was. And I think at first, I didn't really know exactly how to handle that. I just thought, hopefully it'll go away, maybe their prayers will work and it'll go away and she'll become my normal mom again. But unfortunately, this did not happen. She continued having schizophrenia and all of her symptoms, and she's not yet really truly recovered to this day. So what happened to me is that I became essentially depressed, very anxious after this. I became very curious about my own mental health and whether I would develop schizophrenia. So it did have a profound impact on me. And I saw it manifest in other ways too, in my perspective towards women particularly, and in my, romantic relationships. I saw myself having this need for kind of emotional warmth from my female peers at school and other places. So what happened as part of my own recovery process was that I began to intellectualize schizophrenia. I started by learning as much as I could about the disorder, scientifically, through a neuroscience lens, through a psychological lens, through a sociological lens. And for a period of time, this did help. I would say from like about 18 to 22, 23, this really did help. And I think that was the primary coping mechanism that I used to help me heal from this disastrous event that happened when I was 14. But now, um, as I venture into the world of mental health, healing, and recovery, I see that what works in one person's a certain person's stage of their life perhaps may not work as they develop into other stages of their life. So now I very much see my healing process from this as not being so much intellectualizing it and trying to sound as scientifically savvy as I can, but rather going out into the world and helping others with their mental health problems. Being genuine and being open with my own experiences and not being afraid to be vulnerable and being there for other people and being open to hearing about their experiences and what they've gone through. So now my recovery process has kind of evolved from just science to a more humanistic approach in which I'm able to better connect with other people who've also gone through disastrous events in their childhood and being able to connect with them and being able to kind of draw parallels between my experiences and theirs, but more so make these connections between what happened to us and how this affected us, how this affected our perspective towards the world, our perspective towards ourselves, our perspective towards relationships, our perspective towards so many things, and essentially how the trauma kind of crafted us as humans. I think this has been the essence of kind of what I've wanted to do now that I'm reaching kind of like my adulthood. I'm recognizing the importance of human connection, the importance of vulnerability in healing and recovery. And I do think that through this, I will eventually get to the place where I am reaching my utmost ability to truly recover from this trauma that happened in my childhood. So what does this really mean then in the grand picture? I think it means that there is a pathway to recovery. I think this means that once someone really accepts that what they went through as a child was trauma, legitimate trauma, that they can begin to take steps towards healing from it. And they can also kind of look at the recovery process and see, an experiment with what's working and what's not working, help them gauge, am I truly healed, or do I still need to do some of the inner work in order to become more healed? Do I still need to bond better with my friends? Do I still need to build community? Are there still things I need to do in my life and things I need to accomplish in order to really get to that place where I am healed? And I hope that, through this, that we recognize that there is a variety of ways to heal. There's not just one way. I think right now a big conversation is talk therapy, and as great talk therapy is, and as much as I would recommend it, I think that it really does boil down to your own inner work, your own self therapy, and sort of and the missions that you set in your own life, the volunteer work that you do, the work that you do, the self-care that you do. I think these are all avenues to healing, but for me, I can tell you what has worked is really making it my life's work to connect with others. And at this point in my life, that is really what's providing me perhaps the highest level of recovery from my own trauma. So with that being said, I don't think that's the only way. I think there's a variety of different ways that one could reach recovery. And of course, these are just my own experiences. So once again, thank you for listening to this. I really appreciate you if you've made it this far in the video. If you watched any part of the video, I appreciate it. But hopefully I could continue growing within this realm. I know this is just the beginning of me learning about healing and recovery. So hopefully I'll evolve more on this subject, and in my dialogue will become a little bit more attuned to the world's suffering and better able to help others help themselves.